Hello, and welcome to a new video, a new segment here on the Cavalier Family YouTube channel. It is a segment that Roe himself wanted to take ownership on and a show that he wanted to do himself. Just to give you guys a heads up, this is going to be a little different than anything that we've done so far. A lot of stuff has to do with entertainment. This goes along the lines of, daily events and other subjects that's going on in the world. So it's very, opinion based, but please know that we are going to stray away from any sort of politics as much as we can, because the entertainment scale is for everybody and not just one side. We will provide facts, and what we find are facts, and we will provide the information that we have on the description below as well. So take it with an open mind, take all the information with the open mind, and just doing this little introduction in the very beginning, but this is Roe's show, so I'll let him take it away.
Hey guys, welcome to our first segment of Let's Talk About It. We got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of conversation that really needs to be discussed. I've been getting questions from people on what are we talking about? Is there one specific thing that we're going to be talking about? No, it's a lot. I think the name gives it away. Let's talk about it. There's countless of things that we can talk about, and we're here to do just that. The name is King Roe. For those of you who are watching on IG Live, you guys are also part of the group. If you have any questions or you want to jump in on my live to ask any questions on anything that we're discussing, feel free to send that request, hit that request button, and you can jump on, ask any questions on any topic that we're discussing.
All right. So I guess, we could start off with introductions. Obviously, King Roe. My name's Todd. We'll start with the gentleman in the hat.
That's me. My name is Kevin Mclaughlin. I was asked to be on here, and I'm excited about it. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I have a pretty eclectic background with working with lots of people. I was a firefighter for 10 years, and now I work as a mental health counselor. My wife is a therapist, so we kind of come from that type of a family. So these type of discussions are what really rose my boat, man. I love this, so I'm excited.
And then the gentleman that's to the right of, that's more this way, to the right of me.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Fidel, aka Yogi Bear. I'm very excited to be here, getting an opportunity to discuss a plethora of different topics with these gentlemen. It's something that I loved. Past 13 years I've been in the military, traveled a lot, seen a lot of things, been a lot of places, and during that time I've gotten the ability to interact with a vast majority of different people from different walks of life, and it's coming together and just being able to talk different events, different things out, and seeing somebody else's perspective on subjects is definitely eye-opening. So hopefully you guys enjoy.
Hey, so first thing we're going in tough, like Uvalde, Texas. It's completely insane. 18-year-old enters school with firearm and kills 21 people, right? 2 teachers, and the rest were kids. Like it's insane. So I was on CNN and I was reading with more funerals and visitations scheduled for this past Wednesday for the victims of the deadliest shootings in U.S. school nearly in 10 years. More changes in the authorities' narrative of how the May 24th massacre unfolded in South Texas city of Uvalde that are emerging. The Texas Department of Public Safety, or DPS, now says that the shooter used to access Robb Elementary was closed, though not locked, when he entered before killing 21 people there. So apparently, previously they said that the back door was held open, and that's how the 18-year-old entered. But with someone talking to the press, Steve, the DPS director, Colonel Steve Mclaughlin, said the teacher had propped the back door open and left it that way. But after talking to the Associated Press, the teacher did not prop the door open, but closed it. Then once she realized that the school shooter was in there, she closed the door to like keep him in there. I mean, I don't understand, like, and the fact that they said it took 80 minutes for the SWAT team or the tactical team to enter or even get there was astounding.
Yeah, like as a parent, as myself, like it's heartbreaking. It really is. I mean, that kid, and I have the timeline here too, like full timeline if you want me to go over everything too, of that kid should have not been able to do what he did. Just because of the timeline that was given between the night before and when he actually got there. But again, I'll leave that timeline, just let the other guys talk, like, first off. But yeah, I can always provide that timeline if you want.
Oh, go ahead. Like, I mean, we're
Okay.
listening.
All right. So now, as you all know, the information is changing throughout the whole time frame, because when getting this information, it was stated that the door was propped open. Obviously, we know that it was propped open at first, talking about the gunmen and stuff like that, and then the door was shut but unlocked. So first off, I just want to talk about the Lieutenant Chris Oliveira, who said police engaged with the gunman as he entered the school. However, the next day is when he actually said that no such interaction occurred. Both of those videos, obviously, I'll supply the links and stuff for preference from YouTube directly. Both times were, on news. Let's see. He said that as of today, here's what transpired. Approximately 11 a.m., the shooter posted on Facebook that he was going to shoot his, well, I don't know if I should say that word because of YouTube might kick us off. So cause harm to his grandmother. The source of that was Texas Tribune. He did so, then he fled grandmother's truck. The grandmother, badass woman, let me tell you, takes a, an uncomfortable feeling to the face. She actually goes to the neighbors and calls 911. That's at 11:15 a.m. He posted on Facebook his plan was to do that to the school. Again, Texas Tribune, 11:27. The video showed a door to the school propped open. Of course, that was the time frame that we all know. That was CBS. 11:28. He crashed the truck near the school. And then a teacher saw the crash, went inside to call 911, leaving the door open. Again, this is all the news that has changed. A teacher saw the crash and went inside. Sorry, that was a repeat. Two nearby men approached the vehicle until they saw the armed suspect. The gunman fired at the men, but neither was injured. 11:30 a.m., 911 was called and crash was reported. That was through CBS. The name of the teacher is being covered anonymously in reports, probably because she was the one that forgot to lock it. 11:31, police arrived, but didn't initially see the gunman. CBS, gunman proceeded to harm the school from behind cars in the parking lot. 11:33 a.m., the gunman entered the school through the door left. That was CBS. He proceeded to fire more than 100 rounds. Evidence, of course, by audio, entered either room 111 or 112. Earlier reports stated that the gunman was initially met and engaged by a school resource officer, but this information, unfortunately, was proven false. 11:35, 3 officers entered the school through the same door. That was from CBS. They briefly exchanged fire with the shooter. 2 were grazed. Four more officers entered the school later. At some point between the first shots and the second burst, Code Black was announced in the cafeteria. That was from The Guardian. Employees reportedly didn't even know what that meant. 11:37, the gunman fired 16 rounds. 11:43, the school broadcasted over Facebook that they were in a lockdown. 11:51, more police arrived. 11:54, parents and police gathered outside the building. Unfortunately, the cops pepper sprayed the parents who were trying to get into the school, trying to save their kids. At 12:03, 19 officers were inside the school. 3 911 calls were made from inside the classroom by a female student. 12:03 was the third call. 12:10 was the fourth call. 12:13 was the fifth call. The student reported multiple people passed away. 12:11, an officer announced to parents that students would be moved to the nearby funeral home for reunification. 12:15, Border Patrol Tactical Unit members began arriving. 12:16 and 12:19, the same student dialed 911 for the sixth and seventh call. 12:17, the school posted on Facebook that there was an active shooter. 12:21, the shooter began firing again, possibly at the door. 12:30, the school announced on Facebook that reunification would be at the high school. 12:36, the female student from inside the classroom called 911 for the 8th time and was told to stay on the line. At 12:43 and 47, she told them to send police now. 12:40, the school posted to Facebook to change the reunification location to the Civic Center. At 12:50 p.m., police finally got the key to unlock the door. They opened the door and shot and killed the shooter, which we all know that the police aren't the ones that actually shot and killed the shooter. It was a Border Patrol officer who was actually getting his haircut, and he took the shotgun from the barber and took it to the school, and he was the one that actually shot the person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's information I wasn't even tracking.
Yeah, so
he got grazed on top of the head as he was doing it.
Oh,
It shot through. He was wearing a hat, and it actually, one of the bullets grazed the top of his head.
Wow.
Completely as he was. Yeah.
See, that's crazy and incredible. This like you just ring off that timeline to see like how long everything really took to transpire, and then everything that went down. It just like it's really an eye-opening. Like, you know, first and foremost, obviously it's a very sad event, but then when you hear like the response and how everything played out, it kind of opens your eyes to like, how could things have gone that direction? How was, you know, what was going on? How was there not a quicker response, you know? And it kind of brings you back to like the previous one, I believe, like Lakeland a couple years back, and how something similar to that extent, you know, took place. Now you have this happening in Texas, and, you know, everybody has their theories or what they believe happened, and now it's, you know, it kind of spirals. Everyone has, you know, all those different type of thoughts, but it just
also I was just going through a couple Instagram feeds today, and Michael Rappaport said he said, we all know about who Michael Rappaport is. Like he's funny as hell, but like he said something that was like very true, and like I haven't really thought about it till he put it in that perspective, right? So like most places in America, right, you have to be 21 and up to rent a car, right? And some places they won't even let you rent a car at 21. You have to be at least 25, right? Because, you know, the car companies, they know, like the rental companies, they know, like kids, somebody who's 21, we're not that responsible, you know. At 21, you get a car, right? You rent a car, hey, you're gonna be drinking with your buddies, whatever, or whatever you're doing for the night. But it's 18 to go out and purchase a car. I mean, purchase a assault rifle.
But you can actually rent a car. It's just a lot more money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for insurance.
So
well, depends, because I mean I've been to certain car rental places, and they're like, no, and this was at 21 back when I was in Orlando. Like they're like, oh no, you have to be 25, or like, you know, I've tried to rent a car at 18. They're like, yeah, no, like that's not happening. So I mean, I guess it depends on the rental car place that you go to, but like he was saying, the Constitution needs to be updated. Like people can still have guns, just make it a you know, a higher age, right? Which I don't necessarily, you know, disagree with. You know, just make it a higher age. We update everything, like you were saying. We update everything. We update technology. We update like everything else, right? Cars, cell phones, like iPhone has a damn like update every year, right? You know, Samsung as well. So why don't we update those gun laws? I'm not saying take them away. I absolutely agree with that. Like I'm not saying take the gun laws away, like, or take everybody's guns. Just make it a higher age to get those, you know, those type of, you know, weapons, assault rifles and stuff like that.
Well, like some of the guns too, like you do have to be 21, depending on the actual gun that you purchase. Yeah. You have to be 21. But the AR, which I mean, I also found another thing about that, which, you know, are myths and facts about ARs. But ARs, yeah, you can be 18. But going back to what you're saying, like, you know, why not just raise it to 21? Because, you know, even the AR, depending on the state, because the state with the most restricted gun laws, number 1 is California, 2 is New Jersey, 3 is New York, 4 is Hawaii, 5 is Maryland, 6 is Massachusetts, 7th is Illinois, Rhode Island, and then Washington, D.C. right after that. Like in California, to own an AR-15, like it has to be completely bare. Like there's
California gun laws. California gun laws, let me tell you, they're pretty strict.
Exactly. So like
they're pretty strict.
With that, like why not just, like, I'm all for, you know, guns, understand, you know, the whole Second Amendment, and like even for individuals who think, oh well, you know, the forefathers weren't really thinking of AR-15s when they were doing this. Actually, you'd be surprised with some of the guns that would burst fire 6 bullets all at the same time. So equivalent to like a shotgun in a way. So even with that, like just boost the age to like 21, because needless to say, it does fall in line with the parents too, because we understand that this kid, his mom was a druggie. She was on drugs. She abandoned him when he was younger, left him with the grandmother. His dad was never in the picture either. And it all has to deal with parenting. I mean, look at what's his face from Michigan, who did the same thing. His parents were like on meth and stuff like that, who did like heavy drugs, and they were not paying attention to what his son was telling him. Their son went to him and talked like, you know, I have these issues. I'm hearing voices in my head. Like if my kid came up to me and told me that, like, okay, buddy, no problem. You know, let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and let's go see somebody, see exactly what's going on. There's no way that I would have like a weapon near him if that was the case, because it does fall into parenting in some manner. But yeah, like raise it to like 21.
I would agree. I think 21 is a good age. I mean, were both of you military, Ro and?
Yes.
Yeah, both of you military. You know, I still, you know, it goes back to the, you know, you're 18 and you can get a gun and go and shoot people in a different country, you know, defend your country, so on and so forth. Yeah. Which is rough, and you have to wait till you're 21 to be able to drink. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Let's be honest. Yeah. I think we can all agree with that. I think an older age to own a rifle, to be able to purchase it on your own, I think that's solid. I don't know how anybody could honestly disagree with that personally. Working in the mental health field, and I work with people every day, you know, similar to these kids. I'm not saying they're going to go out and shoot people, but I am saying that there's got to be something. I'm pro Second Amendment, 100%. I'm all about it. But I am sick of seeing these things happen. I think everybody is, and everybody's going to have very strong opinions about it, no matter what side of the fence you lie on. So I would almost even take it a step further. I think if you're going to buy a rifle or a pistol or whatever that may be, I think you should have some sort of mental eval. I really do. I don't, and people can slip by those things. It's happened before, but I mean, there's got to be, we have to do something. We can't just sit back and let the NRA just depict who can and can't have a rifle, and they're going to give everybody a rifle or a pistol if they had the option to. That's their thing. But we can't have them control what happens in our country. We have to step up for ourselves and demand this. But there's so many corporations and things that are fighting up against us when it comes to this. But I think we all agree we're sick of it. Something's got to happen. 100%.
I mean, so do we think there's more people that would agree? Like, let's put the number up, because like, what age do you have to be to vote?
18.
Exactly. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now, like, everybody starts voting. Like, if more people, I mean, we know if more people sides with, leaving it at 18, right? I mean, that kind of gives, 18-year-olds a reason to come vote, especially like with people who are like gun hole families, right? Like, people who are all about guns. I've been like, if they've been shooting guns for years, and then now, like, you're 18-year-old, you got a boy or a girl who just is about to turn 18, right? And you're like, yo, I'm gonna go out and get him a gun, and the law switches up. It's like, well, I want my gun. I want my gun range, right? Now it pushes. So like, there's a lot of things that come into it when it comes to even moving it up, and depending on what states we're talking about. Like, you never know. So it's just one of those issues that is going to be ongoing until like there's a major change.
Well, I also think that it depends on the rifle too, because you do have your hunters. Like, I got my hunting license when I turned 18, and I shot my first deer with a shotgun. It wasn't a rifle, it was a shotgun. And it was a slug. So it also depends on the type of rifle. Like, if you have an AR-15, okay, yeah, 21, because of the type of gun that it is. Though it's like, that's kind of the hardship of it too, right? Because there are people who do hunt with the AR-15, no matter what the media says, like, oh, nobody uses this gun for hunting. No, actually, people do use this gun for hunting.
Absolutely.
Like, 100%. I know people from when I used to live up in Michigan. I know individuals who still live there who uses that gun for hunting.
Shout out to Dwajak.
I live just north of Dwajak. Yeah, that's true.
So like, I know individuals who uses that weapon for hunting, but like, even stripping it as bare minimum as a regular hunting rifle, because I can't think of one right now, but just like your basic rifle with the scope. Okay. And I think what
30-30.
Okay.
30-06.
There you
go.
There's one I recognize.
Okay.
But like, even with that, like, people, I don't think, understand what semi-automatic means. And they think, oh, like, because a lot of the news media, let's face it, a lot of the news media has a narrative. And even I have it right here. What's his face? Even admitted Charlie Chester, who is one of the heads of CNN. And I have the document right here where he, by Project Veritas, where he says that fear sells. And that's an issue with the media, is like, they sell their narrative based on fear because it sells the narrative. And the one thing that people don't understand is, especially with the semi-automatic, is every gun that's legal in America is a semi-automatic. If it's an automatic weapon, it's illegal. And semi-automatic just means that it fires as fast as your finger pulls, no matter if it's a 9mm, a 1911, a shotgun, a rifle. Like, that's the whole basis of semi-automatic. Now, you do have your shotguns are a little bit harder because especially if it's a pump action, you have to get the clip out and then, recharge it again. But even so, like, because even look at Stephen Wilford, who was in Texas, who had to deal with the Sutherland Springs, the mass murder, where the guy went over and he shot a couple of people like in the church. And then he actually saw the guy. He heard about it. The guy was on the way to the other church that he was going to shoot up, and he stopped him with an AR-15. He's, post-military as well. So he stopped the guy because he got the gun out of the vehicle, and he shot the guy before he went on a killing spree at another church.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of conflicting things when it comes to this. And personally, I don't think the media is doing it justice, because if they really want to do things on mass murders and shooters and stuff like that, okay, then tell us about the other ones that went on and not just what you guys are covering, like the side school shootings. Because
there's mass murders that happen every single day.
Exactly.
Every single day, but you only hear them because we're talking about children, which is horrific. Don't get me wrong.
It is.
It's terrible. I don't think we're not disagreeing on that, but it's the fact that this happens every single day that we wake up. This is happening every day, but we're only hearing certain sides of the story. We're only hearing certain stories in general. Other than that, you're not hearing anything. So all of a sudden your mind's going 100 miles an hour about these terrible school shootings that are happening, which they are, but you don't know anything else. I mean, it's happening all over the world. This isn't just a United States problem. This is an everywhere problem.
Right, because in 2021, 4 people injured and suspect arrested after knife attack in Greece. Sweden axe attack. Police investigates possible terrorist motive after 7 injured. And that was last year, a dude with an axe. And then 5 people injured in a knife attack at a mosque in Tirana, something like that. Ro can, of course, correct my wording there because I have mush mouth. But I mean, it's gun homicides was steady decline in the 90s prior to
how about car homicides?
Yeah, I mean,
that's another huge vehicle pummeling 50 miles an hour through crowds of people. That's another thing. The parade. Correct. Yeah. And that started with that. And then we had like 5 of them, 6 of them in a row in different countries that were happening.
In Paris.
Well, I give my thoughts and prayers out to the families that lost a loved one during that just outrageous event that happened in Uvalde. I know that they have a memorial bearing the names of the victims killed that week in the school shooting. I mean, there's just a lot of things to discuss when it comes to that, and hopefully things get better before they get worse.
And it's sad because it looks like 94% of public school shootings, attacks since the 1950s have actually occurred in gun-free zones too. And that was all the way in 2018.
Yeah, and that's what happens, right? We're talking about the city of Chicago, the most highly gun-free city in America. And now, seriously, right? And now we're talking, they have the most homicides of every city in America at this point in time, I think, with guns, with pistols, I mean, so that's not the answer. Obviously, that is not the answer. Look at Los Angeles. I mean, look at Atlanta. I live in Georgia here. That's not the answer. So, I mean, we can keep pushing that agenda if we want, but it's not working.
I know a lot of people will highly disagree on this. Highly disagree.
Okay.
And I hope nobody stops following because of opinions, because again, the information I shared, the timeline and stuff, resources. This is my personal opinion. Don't know how you guys feel, and this is very controversial, talking points is teachers should be trained.
Ooh, yeah.
That is a controversial talking point.
Yeah, that's a controversial thing. Or again, like more police officers at schools specifically.
So my whole thing with that is, so it kind of fits into another narrative or another issue with the whole teachers. Like, what resources do we give our teachers? They can, barely get school supplies and things of that nature. So now they have to
we're dropping
be trained, and so that's like it kind of spiraled out of control at that point. But I agree, like it's such a hard thing. There's not one solved answer that can just take care of the situation or the problem that it is. So, increased police presence, things of that nature in schools, that might work. It might deter some guys, but at the same time, a lot of those school shooters or those who are going out there to commit those crimes, they're fully prepared to die. They are fully, it's more of a suicide mission at that point. And their aim is to do as much damage as possible. A lot of places have had police officers at those schools when the shootings occurred. You just never know until it's happened. It's too late. It's not something that just is stopped before they're able to get to school grounds. They get there, they start shooting, try to create as much chaos as possible. They might be able to sneak in a handgun. I mean, I've read stories that even a 5 or 6 year old was able to get a gun in there that they took from their parents, and then only reason it was found out because it went off in the backpack and then shot another child. Luckily, that child survived, but things of that nature, it's folks, I think, like at an age like, Second Amendment, I am about it. But I think folks just need to understand like the gravity of the situation and be trained and like spun up on that. Like, you need to really understand like, hey, this is a firearm. Yes, this is a tool, but this tool can create a lot of damage and kill. You need to get trained up. I know a lot of folks, they train their kids to go out to hunt, shout out to Georgia, down there at 14, 15, you can get a rifle and go down and hunt, so this different states are going to have different laws because their cultures are different, this is how you look at it, being in the country versus the inner city, how they look at both sides of the fence are going to be completely different. So there's not going to be a blanket that every state and city is going to follow, but just getting those to understand like, all right, this is the gravity of the situation, understand like, hey, make sure at least if you have something, lock it up, because a lot of folks don't lock up their weapons, especially when there's kids in the house.
Right.
That's a very big one.
Because going back to what you just said, how did that kid get the gun? It was from his parents, which means that the gun was not appropriately locked. I remember growing up, my father, big avid hunter, he had guns, right? I'm not going to name the guns because it's for his security. Just like I won't say what I own, just like I won't say what if Roe or what you guys own. I won't say that because the only person that should know is either anybody that you go shooting with or who's intruding with your house. So
fair enough.
My father, obviously, he owned a whole bunch of guns. And when he had his own hunting room, specifically deer heads and stuff, and whenever he was not in that room, he locked the door, for one, the main door, or number two, he locked the door where he only had a key to get into that was always with him 100% of the time on a keychain to where those to where the weapons are. Never get into it. And
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, and there, it just goes. It depends on the learning. Like, you just have to teach. Like, don't touch it when you're angry. This is only for either. It's proper training. I mean, just like how there has to be different training with police officers, because we know that just like how there are bad pilots. Like, for an example, great movie, but the movie with Denzel Washington in Flight, he saved a whole bunch of people, but the dude was drunk. He was drunk. So again, like, there are bad pilots and there are also amazing pilots. Look at Sully, who landed the plane in the thing. Yeah, he got a lot of heat for it, and they thought that he was on like drugs or something like that. I can't fully remember, but he still landed the plane. So there are good and there are bad, just like police.
With the training of the teachers and stuff, right? So for me, yes, it's a good idea, and no, it's not so much of a good idea. Reason being, right? Teachers have hectic days, Yeah. I've never been a teacher.
I know where you're going with this.
I know where you're going with this too.
Sit down, Timmy.
I've never been a teacher, but these kids are bad as hell nowadays. You know, like, and I'm not saying it's all kids. You know, and I would never want a kid to get hurt. You know, especially as reckless and crazy as that was. But teachers getting trained, like, teachers having a bad day, then drink their cup of coffee, or like he has a problem child, like that's in the class, and like, all right, let's say Chicago, right? We know there's some badass kids in Chicago, just like badass kids in Florida, badass kids in Cali. Like, some kid starts going off trying to fight the teacher. What's the teacher's first instinct going, man? I can't put my hands on you. What's the next best thing?
Well, to counter that, because I don't believe I said trained on weapons, as I just said trained.
He just said trained, yes.
I just said trained. So with that, like, why not self-defense train, right? We teach women on how to self-defense as far as when like an intruder comes up, or to if somebody is manhandling them, and how to escape that. So why not also train teachers in some type of like self-defense, or kind of like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of like solutions or like ideas.
I do like where you're going with that. I feel like not enough schools, like I know growing up, there were schools that did tornado drills. You do certain drills within your school, so if something happens, this is the course of actions.
Mm-hmm.
So for active shooter drills, like, do you guys know what you're supposed to do if there's an active shooter in school? Do children know? Because obviously, when you bring up that timeline, there's a lot that was going on. So what was everybody in the actual school doing? What were the students doing? Where they're told, like, hey, get down, barricade the doors, lock the halls down. Like, what was going on? Like, it's not an event that a lot of schools maybe practice or teach. So when those things happen, like, oh, what we're doing? Hey, who's not here? Who's not accountable? Who do we not have accountability of? Is it a bathroom? Where's such and such that? And just not having that, like, the schools at themselves just need to probably implement that a little bit more, just so they understand, like, hey, this is what goes on. Active shooter drills, like, hey, we get accountability of who's in the classroom. We're barricading that door. Everybody get behind here, and let's hopefully wait it out.
Yeah, and then I mean, you to add on to that, right? So self-defense, right? Teacher, kid tries to attack teacher, right? But then it goes into there's a term like escalation of force, right? So yeah, he's the kid's about to attack you, whatever teenager is about to attack you, right? And then you draw it, you don't shoot, whatever. Oh, now I'm gonna tell my cousins, my brothers, or like my dad, teacher, took the weapon out the holster on me, and now you got family waiting outside with weapons, on teachers, like, oh, why'd you pull out? I feel like it's just a whole revolving door of, like, issues that come in and out when it comes to that. I mean, if we figure it out, we figure it out. I'm all for it.
It's a tough one.
There's never going to be an answer that's going to satisfy everyone. That's how it is for anything, right? So whatever is done, this needs to be done, right? Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of change it and evolve from there. You just need to make a swift decision, and then you can kind of change and evolve from there. You're not going to please everybody. You're not going to get all the votes. You're not going to get all the applauses. But years and years later, as things start to change and evolve from there, at least you have a baseline to work with and then go from there. That right now, we do not have that in this country. There's not a baseline that everybody has, like, oh yeah, that's where we should start from. It's always like extremely left or extremely right. There's no middle ground. There's no area that everyone's saying like, all right, this sounds like something reasonable. It's like, hey, take everything out or put everything in. And it's not like, well, neither one of those is going to solve what we're trying to do right now.
Sounds like a conversation you and I had earlier, Dad. That just far left, far right. There's no in the middle.
There's no in between.
There's no in between. And just to like kind of play devil's advocate on you, Ro, when you're talking about, you know, the teacher holstering, why not just, because where I went to high school with, you know, shout out to Dwajek again. They had, if I'm not mistaken, there was a lot of rooms that had back areas where it's kind of like a closet area. Like I remember our science class specifically, the classroom had like a back area where it had all the chemicals and stuff and it was locked. So why not have something back there? It's not always with the teacher, but if it needs kind of like a axe in the glass, right? Don't break the glass unless if there's a fire type situation. Mm-hmm. But at least they're trained. Again, I didn't bring that up. I just said trained. I didn't bring up that side of things, but I'm just bouncing off. So.
Maybe instead of that new football field, maybe you should have an automatic locking door from the office, or you press a button.
Safe.
Something should be at all times. You don't need that $400,000 football field. There was a school that has a complete active shooter anti-shooter assessment going on in their school, where all of a sudden you press a button, all the doors lock, the shooter is locked in there with you in the halls, for instance, but then they can go camera by camera and they shoot down disorientative smoke out of the ceilings. And it disorients, yeah, right. It disorients the shooter and they have no idea where they're going. And they proved they sent in some military personnel and they were completely confused about what was going on.
That definitely sounds like an embassy where we've worked at.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had to do the same thing when working with the State Department and everything.
Sure.
So, yeah, but
go ahead.
Sorry to cut you guys off.
I could talk about this all day.
Well, yeah, right. It's a topic that we can go on for days.
Well, are you okay if I go over the myths? Just because again, we get a lot of stuff through the media, and a lot of the stuff is false. Like I saw one thing by NPR that stated that AR-15s, like the bullets, were meant to like decapitate a person, and it's like no. Maybe a 50 caliber, okay.
A 5.56 round isn't what you think it really is.
Right,
it really is.
It's really not. And I think we can test for that.
So if you guys don't mind, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go over the few myths here. I'm going to pull you guys back up. All right. So myth number 1. The AR-15 is an assault rifle and regular citizens should not be able to own them. Truth. The most obvious reason why this is a false is that an AR in AR-15 does not stand for assault rifle. It actually stands for Armalite.
Mm-hmm. Armalite.
Okay. So you guys are shaking your head. Again, mushmouth. Or just can't pronounce words. Either way, Armalite rifle, stemming from the company behind it, Armalite, which was founded in 1954 and designed by a weapons designer and former Marine named Eugene Stoner. Stoner. Their goal was to create civilian small arms for a commercial market and in turn use that momentum to possibly land military contracts. This means that the AR-15 is in fact a civilian rifle and is why regular citizens own them. It goes into a little bit more, but I'll just stop there. Myth number 2, the Second Amendment was made for hunting and you don't need an AR-15 to hunt. Truth. Well, I mean, we've already discussed about how people that we know actually hunts with the AR-15, so I'll go ahead and skip that one. Myth 3, the Second Amendment does not give you the right to own military style rifles like the AR-15 because it was talking about muskets. Truth. This one is quite simple to debunk. Actually, with some basic logic, thinking the most obvious is a lack of the word musket in the writing of the Second Amendment. The founding fathers wrote the right to bear arms, not the right to bear muskets. The dictionary defines of arms as any weapon, armament, or ammunition That alone should make it obvious that this wasn't written about muskets alone. The other underlining premise here is that during that time, there were no repeating rifles. Everything was single shot, and citizens were not allowed to own any advanced weaponry. There's a problem with that. The Constitution was written and came into the effective in 1989, but by then there were already repeating rifles that could outshoot the average musket, and the founders had no issue with citizens owning them. So for an example, it looks like the Belton flintlock. This was a weapon designed in 1777, and the rifle could shoot upwards to 20 balls of ammo within 5 seconds. Let's see, there's another one, whereas the puckle gun was created and patented in about 1718. That's roughly 30 years shy from a century before the Constitution came into effect. This was primitive, early Gatling gun design. Pepper Box Revolver, which is similar to what I was describing to you guys, was another one of those guns that shot more than one round and were created way before the Constitution. And there are photos on this where it shows, I would probably say 8 holes. Some of them were 8 holes. It looks like some of them may be upwards of 12. And again, it shot all at the same time.
Is the Henry repeater on there?
If it's not, go ahead and describe what the Henry repeater was.
The Henry repeater was essentially, if anybody's familiar with a 30-30, it's a lever action. It's one of the first lever action rifles, essentially. So it's not a bolt action. Yeah, it's a underneath boom, yeah. And you can clear the in 5-6 rounds within seconds of those, and that's one of the first iterations of a lever action rifle. Still fast.
Yeah.
The Red Dead. Yeah, nice.
Well, this piece of information actually kind of surprised me. The early cannon was also another piece of artillery that civilians were allowed to own. And this was confirmed even after the Constitution took into effect by James Madison signed a letter of marque in reprisal to a citizen that would allow him to own mountain cannons for his ship. Now, granted, it was for his ship. Not only was he allowed to own those cannons.
At your front door. You got a cannon hanging out your window.
Dude.
Tiny bullshit, Bob.
Who's at my door? Just open it up, just roll a cannon out.
Get
your dog off my lawn, guy.
Not only was he allowed to own those cannons, but he was also allowed to shoot any enemy vessels if they were spotted. So that was one. And of course, they showed a picture of the cannon. Myth number 4, the AR-15s is too dangerous for an average citizen to own, and it kills too many people too quickly, so we should ban them. Truth, according to statistics, about 99% of all gun crimes, 0.1% in states like Maryland and Jersey are committed with some kind of pistol. According to police reports, the AR-15 is a non-issue. The Columbine school massacre that left 13 dead and more than 20 wounded, which is because even after that, I remember doing school lockdowns in high school because of that. Did not involve a single rifle. The 2 shooters were using pistol caliber carbines, 9mm to be exact, which is the same exact caliber used in most pistols on the market today. Mind you, this massacre happened during the assault weapons ban of 1994. This means that even a total ban will not stop school shootings or homicides involving guns. Pistols are more concealable than an AR-15. They can be deployed much more quickly in confirmed spaces, hold 12 to 17 rounds on average, and can hold up to 100 rounds with a high-capacity magazine, depending on the make or model of the pistol. Pistols can also be shot very rapidly. A killer wielding a pistol can wreak just as much havoc as someone with an AR-15, sometimes even more havoc due to its small size in comparison. Again, there's more, so I'll just stop there. Myth number 5, and the reason why I'm stopping is not because it says bad things about it, so I don't want anybody to get the concept of, oh, he's only reading what he wants to read. No, I'm stopping to avoid boring you guys and for us to move on to other topics. Myth number 5, nobody needs an AR-15 or any type of assault rifle. Those should be left to law enforcement or the military. This belief poses several problems for many reasons. And of course, it just goes into the fact of everything that we discussed, and especially with what I talked about the gentleman in Texas who stopped the shooter over in the Texas shooting, which his name again was Stephen Williford, Sutherland Springs shooting. So they used him as an example and how he was able to stop the shooter.
Can I interject for just a quick second?
Yeah,
just a quick second for a quick point.
Well,
So
that's all. So
oh,
I'll
okay,
stop right there.
Just
So
a quick little thing. So the assault style rifle should only be used for military and police officers. Are we talking about those same police officers that took 80 minutes to go in and save those children? Is that what we're talking about?
Same ones. Same ones.
I'm just curious. I like to rock the boat a little bit. I'm just,
Well, to bring up a good talking point to that, because recently, though it's not really covered by the news anymore, if you guys caught it, and if you guys pay attention to like all the homicides and stuff that goes on, news like to spray one narrative. But if you look at the Tulsa shooting that happened on Wednesday, the cops showed up a hell of a lot quicker than they did for the school, and they took out AR-15s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like they were ready to go in, and they were ready to wreak havoc on that individual, which again, I believe some news articles are saying that it was a hospital, but it was an attachment from the hospital, like a school, like a medical type hospital. I don't know, I can't exactly say what it was, but it wasn't the actual main hospital. Still horrible regardless, not making any differences as far as what the difference between the two buildings, because regardless, anybody who shoots anybody just to shoot them or wreak havoc or get a name, or just because of the Columbine shootings, they notice that media is now spreading their name and they can become famous, is horrible and should not be here.
Yeah, shit. I agree with that. The only case, and I'm not even fully certain with that because it's still a loss of life, would be like military personnel or police officers with PTSD.
Yeah.
That doesn't give it, I'm not saying it gives it a pass, but like I feel like anybody beyond that.
Yeah, because I mean, let's face it, like veterans are not getting the help that they need. And veterans,
we could have a whole episode on that.
We could have a whole episode.
We could have 10 episodes on that.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, like, why not just, and some of them who have challenges and PTSD, some of them feel like they don't have a purpose. So one of the things that I saw was, why not use them for also like undercover stuff? It gives them the purpose, it gives them the reasoning, like it provides them because they have the military training. But it's truly sad.
It is. It is. All the way around, it's truly sad.
I want to thank you guys for being on the show. Everybody else, stay tuned for our next show. It'll be on why is it more acceptable for men to cheat than women? I mean, I don't agree with it. I don't think it is, but that's a whole nother topic to get into.
Beard.
All right, guys. See you guys next week for our next episode.